I have three news stories for you viewers. Firstly, US Embassy in Eritrea has issued a statement. US Embassy is calling upon Isaias Afwerki, Ertrian president, to release political prisoners who were thrown in prison more than 20 years ago. Secondly, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission has launched an investigation into alleged killings of civilians in and near Kobo in North Wollo. I have been updating you about fighting in and near Kobo over the past few days. Now, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission says it has received some reports about human rights abuses in and near Kobo. Thirdly, TPLF allied news sources are saying that Ertrian forces are positioning themselves for a major offensive against a Tigray Defense Force. TPLF allied news sources are saying that in three places on three fronts, Ertrian forces and Ethiopian National Defense Forces are planning a major offensive on TDF. We'll have a detailed look at the three fronts. Firstly, viewers, the US Embassy in Eritrea has issued a statement. US Embassy says that in the spirit of upcoming Meskel holiday, Meskel is a Christian holiday. It's due to come on the 27th of September. In the spirit of upcoming Meskel holiday, US Embassy in Eritrea is calling upon Ertrian President Isaias Afwerki to release political prisoners. US Embassy says that 20 years ago in September, a group of Ertrian officials wrote a letter to Ertrian government. They called for democratic reforms. G15 group was the name of the group of officials. After that, Ertrian government launched a crackdown on these officials, on students, on journalists, and without any trial, hundreds were thrown into prisons. Human rights agencies, human rights bodies say there are thousands of political prisoners in the prisons of Eritrea. So US Embassy is raising its voice for these political prisoners in Ertrian. Because people complain that why is that the Western countries and the US interfere in internal matters of African countries. Western countries and the US interfere in internal matters of these countries, African countries, because there are no credible and impartial institutions in most of African countries. Regional blocks, regional institutions have not delivered as well. How many times have you heard African Union raising voice for political prisoners in Eritrea or in other countries of Africa? So, internal institutions and regional bodies are not working. That is why the West, the US, they intervene. At least someone is raising voice for these poor prisoners who have been in prison for more than 2 decades, viewers. Secondly, viewers, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission has issued a statement. It says that it has received some reports that civilians have been killed, their properties have been looted, civil infrastructure has been damaged by TPLF fighters in and near Kobo city. Ethiopian Human Rights Commission says it has launched an investigation into these reports. I have been updating you about fighting to the east of Kobo city over the past few days. Fighting happened almost 4 days ago, viewers. We have received conflicting reports about this fighting, Amhara news sources and now Ethiopian Rights Commission say that fighting occurred between locals and TDF fighters, and TDF fighters have killed scores of innocent civilians. Some other sources say fighting happened between Afar militias and TDF fighters on Afar Amhara border areas to the east of Kobo city. But most sources have confirmed that fighting did happen to the east of Kobo city, and some persons have been killed as well. TPLF spokesperson Tigray, President spokesperson Getachew or other Tigray bodies, none of them has issued any statement in this regard so far. But Amhara news sources say that another massacre has been committed in Kobo by TPLF members, like they did in China in Gondar. Lastly, viewers, the TPLF allied news sources are saying that Ertrian forces are taking up positions on 3 fronts, and they are planning a joint offensive with Ethiopian National Defense Forces on Tigray Defense Force. According to TPLF allied news sources, Ertrian forces are firstly in Gondar, secondly in wolla, thirdly in Afar. On these 3 fronts, Ertrian forces and Ethiopian National Defense Forces are making preparations for a joint offensive on Tigray Defense Force. There is presence of Ertrian forces in western Tigray. So apart from western Tigray, in Amhara, in Afar regions, according to TPLF allied news sources, a new offensive is in the making. Now, I can confirm there is presence of Ertrian forces in western Tigray. We have visual confirmation as well. I can also confirm that Ertrians were part of fighting on Gondar front too, when TDF tried to advance towards Gondar city. Ertrians intervened from western Tigray, and TDF's offensive on Gondar, it failed. What about Ertrian presence in wolla? We have been hearing claims from TPLF allied news sources that Ertrian forces have arrived on Dassi front. Now, another claim that they are in Afar too, and from Afar, wolla, Gondar, from all these 3 fronts, a joint offensive is in the making against Tigray Defense Force. Well, in the coming days, we'll be able to verify or reject this claim. Afar forces have been neutral so far. We haven't seen any large-scale attacks from Afar forces on TDF positions in wolla, especially near Dassi, Wuldia side. So that is why maybe in coming days we'll be able to say for sure about the presence of Ertrian forces in Afar and in wolla. If there is presence of Ertrian forces in Afar and they're planning a major offensive, Ertrians, ENDF, Afar forces, Romia forces from Afar towards wolla, wolla could come under pressure. TDF could come under pressure on wolla front. Let's see what happens. In coming days, we'll be able to say for sure about the role of Ertrian forces in the new offensive on TDF from ENDF. Thank you for watching.